All right, we gotta clear this room out so we can work on some more stuff today. Everything's dried overnight. Take a quick look at it. Everything looks good. I don't need to do anything to any of this stuff except for these minis. I'll go over that, but the aprons, they're good. There's no point in doing another thing to these. These look good. They don't even need to be sanded and polished. They're slick, they're clean, they look factory correct. Plus is what I would say with that. So, you know, factory correct is like, okay, it just looks like it was made. And then plus is it's a little bit better than that. And then you start getting into more of the custom work, like you might see me doing some of this other stuff where you're getting everything just slick as glass and all those kind of things. It just depends on what type of build you're after. You can do things a lot of different ways. But this stuff's good. All factory plus look, I don't need to do another thing to it. This whole row of parts, good. These we're gonna rework, we'll get into that when we do it, but what I had done yesterday was just the initial stages of getting it started. This is the apron that had the touch up. It looks great. I'm not gonna fool with it anymore. I mean, once I put the rubber plug on there and you put it on there with the car, I mean, this thing looks good. There's no point in getting involved in that. Could you get it 5% better? Yeah, you could. Is it worth fooling with and then re-clearing the whole thing? And then maybe when you do that and then you re-clear it, then all of a sudden you got runs in the front of it or something fish-eyed or something. It's not worth it. So if you look at something and you're satisfied with it as is, and I'm just talking about the finish on here. If I look at this and say, this finish is good, it doesn't need any improvements, then I can live with a little something. But if I look at it and say, well, I got to do this anyway, then yeah, I'll revisit it. But this thing looks great, just leave it alone. All right, so let's see what we got going on in here. I've got this original Playfield that I've been working on for probably, and I regret that we're not capturing the whole thing, but we will, and we can, and we have. So it's not that important, but I regret that I haven't caught how I got it to this point so far, but it's been on my Playfield rack over there, and I've been chipping away at it here and there, just knowing that I had 4 Twilight zones to restore, and that some of them were gonna want replacement Playfields or be okay with it, and other people were gonna want original Playfields. And so I just knew, it's like, okay, let me get out ahead of this, because when I do get to my Twilight Zone projects, I don't want to be starting out from scratch, because this can be a very long-term process. This looks real nice. I don't need to do a lot to it, but I'll take a little bit of this sandpaper that's in my hand and just scuff it up. I'll sand it with something a little bit finer too, but just to get any material settlement out of here. With this water-based cleaner. Let's see what we have to work with today. Now we will wipe it down with the solvent-based cleaner. All right, that looks like something we can work with. I think the first thing that I want to do is get these cuts done on this these insert borders. That's going to be pretty time consuming. I'll set you up on the tripod, we'll turn on some music, I'll get the light box up and running, and you know, it'll be a slow, tedious process for me. It won't be for you because I'll edit it down to make it all work, but it's going to be tough. All right, let's get this stuff set up here. There's a little homemade light box. It's nothing too fancy. I used to have a really nice one that I built into like the side of the shop, or, you know, on the walls here. But you know, it was heavy. It was kind of awkward. You couldn't get all the way around it. You could only lean on one side, so you had to turn the thing around. So I threw this together. It's kind of like a makeshift one. It's pretty collapsible. It does what it needs to do. I basically just need to make sure I can get some light shining through the Playfield so I can see how or where to cut things out. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I light it up? Well, I'm glad you asked. Right on in there, I can angle it or move it. It's not that there aren't better ways to do this, but for no more than I need something like this, it works well for me. So there we go, we do that, and then we just pull the string. Just took me a minute to set it up, and here it is. And what this will allow me to do is just, I can move it around. I can really see through these inserts. I'll take this off and we'll look at it close. All right, there it is. We got a light box set up, and what I'm trying to do here, I'll try to show you the best I can. Just by letting the light shine through here, I should be able to find all the breaks in the borders. And it can be hard to spot, but I can see it with my eyes. But I'm just looking for all the breaks in the borders, and it helps me with it illuminated like this. It helps me cut this out pretty well. I don't have to cut it out perfect edge to edge. I need to just make sure I kind of basically, I guess, I'm cutting, so you can kind of think of like coloring within the lines. So I'm cutting within the lines, and as long as I do that, I'm going to fill in the gaps, and the gaps are going to be things like you see right there, where it's not fully blacked out anymore because the ball's rolled across it so many times it's worn through, or just the insert itself shifted up or down. And I need to do this with every single one of these inserts. So that's what we'll do. I'll lay out some masking material on there, and we'll start cutting this stuff out. This stuff out. I'll probably move this around, but I'm going to cut all these inserts out and we'll go from there. There's everything cut out. And that's probably like 2 hours worth of work. That never gets covered well. That part, I've yet to ever capture that as well as I could. I wish, but it's just too time consuming. It's one of my least favorite things to do. And it always has to happen towards the end. So I do need to do the yellow. I need to do a lot of things. But what I want to do next is go grab those mini Playfields, sand those, and catch them up with this, and then just black everything out at once. So let me get those. Holding this up against that explosion-proof lighting right there to see if I had any breaks left in my insert borders. I didn't, so that means, okay, I'm done with that. All right, got everything unmasked, got all the black insert borders done, got a few things to touch up. You know, I could chase things all over this playfield. I could paint about half of this playfield if I was being absolutely super critical. And I'm not even gonna show you what those details are or would be, because you'll never see them. You'll never know it, you'll never see them. And if I highlight it, then we can't unsee it, and we're gonna be doing it. So let's not do that. We just want to make a really nice playfield that looks really nice. Once it's assembled, it looks great, and that's what we really need to do to have all this make sense. Not to be working on a playfield for 2 months. Because if I was going to be perfectly honest with you, I've probably already been working on it for a month before we even started here. But you know, these playfield restorations are hard to deal with. I can do them. You know, we've seen that, we know that. But most of the time, if you can get a new playfield, that's the smart move, because unless you're a purist or there's no other option, playfield restorations are just not as practical these days as they used to be. It used to be, that's the only game in town. You're gonna need to restore this playfield if you want to have a really nice game. But that, you know, so much of this stuff is made these days, it's hard. I wish it wasn't. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you about that. I wish it wasn't. I'd rather be restoring original playfields, and it's not making me any extra money. As a matter of fact, it costs me more money half the time when I'm doing this as far as my time. I can't usually justify it. But I'd rather be restoring original playfields, because they're always, there's something always a little bit better about them. Even if they get restored, there's always something a little bit better about them. It's typically just the print, the art, you know, whatever. I'm not one of these technical guys. You get these guys on there that blow up, you know, like they're these like graphic artists, and they're all these things, and they start splitting hairs about fonts and how thick the lines are around this and that. And I get it, you know, I understand, I see it. I can't really put it into words, I can't describe it, but I see what they're saying. And I don't need them to describe it to me. I can put the one thing next to the other thing and just look at them side by side, and I can see there's something different about it. I can't always quite put my finger on it like they can, because that's not my expertise. But anyway, there's something always a little bit, nothing's ever a perfect recreation. Nothing's ever a perfect recreation. And the restoration of this is just much the same. I mean, if you have a lot of these gradients where they're fading from one color to the next, you know, they're going to be doing it with these screens, and it's going to be dot, 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 you know, one thing fades to the other. And I'm going to be doing it with the airbrush, so I'm going to be fading paint. It's going to look good, but it's not going to be just like that. So I guess what I really want to say is these original playfields are always better some kind of way. In some kind of way, you can't quite describe it, but they're always better. But at the same time, once enough work gets done to them, if it gets to be excessive work, then you're really no better off than just replacing it. What's the difference? You're taking away whatever that is that made it unique through your process. So when I'm trying to figure out which playfield is worth restoring and which one isn't, that's what it's usually going to come down to. If I can restore it very well and maintain that character and that authenticity about it, I'll want to restore the original. If I don't have any replacement option, even if I have to do those things, it will take away some of its authenticity. It's worth it because you can't get one. But that's kind of where, like, you know, the line, you cross the line, which one? So in the case of something like Twilight Zone, if I'm going to have to paint this area down here and fade all this stuff, just get a replacement playfield. There's no point in doing that. But if it's something like this, where I can evaluate and say, well, yeah, I'm only going to be blacking out inserts. That's not hurting anything. They need to have black inserts. I'm only painting solid colors. I'm just doing some wood tones, some bulb burn. Yeah, that's worth doing. So that's how you determine what's worth restoring and what's not. People always ask me when they watch me do this kind of work, they're like, what's that masking film you use? And I don't tell them what the masking film that I use is, because it can be hard to come by, and it goes out of stock a lot, especially in the, you know, the world we live in today, where we have supply chain issues and all those things. So Well, I don't tell you, it's not because it's a trade secret, it's because I want to make sure I can get my hands on it when I need it, because I probably need it a lot more than you do. I know that sounds bad, but it's true. I'm trying to make a living over here. All right, got that yellow cut out. All right, I think we're about ready to paint this yellow. Paint to mix up, and a lot of stuff just to catch a little teeny edge, but that's what it takes. So I got this lavender unmasked. I'm gonna paint that. Start working on some of this ramp flap wear. I'll probably go real deep with this, and I'll go ahead and hit these recesses where it's routed and darken those just so it looks like I'm cutting to the ply, and just make it look as nice as I can, even though all that stuff's gonna be assembled when we put it together, because you know, I want to get a good representation of the craft here, not just like, okay, what do I need to do just to get by on this job, but more like, okay, what does it take to really do this at a high level? Not what this thing looks like put together, but what would this look like if you were just putting it on your coffee table, scrutinizing. So we'll kind of take that approach best we can, because I get tired. I got to tell you the truth. I'm not going to rant here, but I get so tired of hearing about these Playfield restoration artists, but they don't do touch-ups, they just clear. Well, I'm sorry, but clear doesn't cover anything, so you're not an artist. And anybody can spray clear. I mean, I could show you how to do that all day long. Anybody can spray that stuff, and anybody can shape it, and anybody can buff it, and you can do it. Take a really lousy clear job and make it look good with enough work. So you're not a fucking artist if you're spraying clear coat, if that's your only expertise. You know, I get so tired of hearing that shit. But I will show you what it takes to properly repair a playfield, and I don't know if that makes you an artist or not, but I mean, there's an art form to it. I won't deny that. So we'll see how that goes, but that's kind of the view I'm going to go ahead and just take when I'm the rest of the way restoring this playfield here in front of you. So we got the lavender to paint, some blue to paint, and we'll just start working our way out of every little thing that we can fix. So that would be this ground and dirt right here and the ramp flap wear. Other than that, we've already fixed a lot, as you can tell. All right, I've been tinting my paint. This is a tough one to match. I got a good match mixed up for that. And it's never like I did on the money match, but it's a good blendable match, I'll call it. And I can take this and spray it, and it's gonna look great. So we got that. And I wasted a good bit of paint. You can't always capture this on here, but I mean, I probably mixed a total of a pint of paint in order to spray what's gonna be the equivalent of maybe half an ounce on here. Maybe even, probably not even that, probably just almost a little bit more than a thimbleful is what I actually need, but that's how it goes. But this is such a good match, I'll probably put this to the side, and I can, I'll make sure I seal it good, and then I can use it for when I restore the next Link Smith Twilight Zone Playfield, because that's the shade it's going to match. It's not going to match the sun processed one. It's not going to match, you know, that's what people don't understand. It's not like, oh, this is the purple they used on the Twilight Zone Playfield. No, this is the purple they used on the Link Smith Twilight Zone Playfield. If you've got a TAG Twilight Zone Playfield, or you've got a sun process Twilight Zone Playfield, this isn't going to work for you. All right, I got my lavender mixed up, and I'm ready to go, man. That took quite a bit to get that one straight. Okay, we are ready to clear these playfields. So we got the Miracle playfield, or the Memorex playfield, as I like to call it. And we have the original playfield that we're working on. Now the Miracle playfield is gonna lay down a lot slicker than the original playfield for now, because I got all those cuts and all that paint work and all that stuff that I gotta bury in there. But the long term on this one is a lot better. And so we'll deal with that. And we got the two minis, which I have a Miracle mini that's already cleared and ready to go. I'm just doing two minis for this original so I can pick the best one. All right, so first things first, gonna blow it off and tack it, and then we're gonna clear it. That's simple. Let's go hit the second coat. We're gonna put this on kind of like a double coat, and what that will do is just make sure that we don't get any kind of solvent pop or anything. take a quick look at these now that we can turn the fan off. They're still not ready to touch or do anything. You don't want to get too close to them, but this replacement Playfield, this thing's good to go. Just sand it, buff it, put it together, probably wait a day or two. This one right here, it's still a work in progress. I know it looks great. I mean, you're gonna look at it and be like, oh, it looks great. What do you gotta do to it? But it's a lot more work that needs to be done to it. I need to sand this down very thoroughly and at least re-clear it. That's the minimum that needs to happen at this point, because as good as it looks right now today, you can start to see that rippliness and that waviness. Now, I don't mind that. That's not really necessarily a bad thing with a pinball Playfield. They're all kind of that way. People that get these things flat and slick as a ice skating rink are ruining them, to be perfectly honest with you, because they were never that and they really shouldn't be. But nonetheless, that is going to start to look a lot worse come tomorrow. Those edges are going to settle hard, and what that rippliness is that you see is the clear starting to settle around all those paint borders where I cut everything out and I airbrushed it. So that's going to be anywhere I painted something. So when I painted that lavender, that's going to look like that. When I painted all that ramp flap wear, that's going to be looking like that. And so that's why it's going to have to be sanded and re-cleared at a minimum. That will take care of that look once it really starts to show itself, which will be mostly prominent starting tomorrow, not so much now that it's wet. I want to go over this real quick because I painted that ramp flap wear, and you might see that little black mark, and you're probably thinking, I didn't paint all the ramp flap wear. Well, I did. That little black mark is present all throughout these Playfields, and what that is that's a Mylar alignment mark. And you'll find them throughout the Playfield if you're looking for them. Let's see, we got some right there. You see that one, and then over here, there's gonna be one there and one there. If you're looking, you can kind of see them. And what those are is that's just where it just guides an operator or somebody that wants to put a full factory Mylar on a Playfield. It shows you where to put it down. It's basically saying, okay, you get this, you fill in, you use these little marks as your basically traces. So we lay it all out in those marks, that's where it goes. So those are, the best I can describe it to you, those are Mylar alignment marks. So I'm not trying to paint all those out of a Playfield because, I mean, they're supposed to be there. But I guess technically if you were worried about it, you could. It wouldn't necessarily be right though. All right, so that's what we're dealing with there. Minis, I mean, that's easy work. That's all, that's set. We just gotta sand and polish those and they're good to go. So that's pretty much it as far as Playfields go for now. I'll pick up the other one when it's ready to sand and do the final clear. This one will probably get sanded and polished before, because this will probably be the one I first start putting together, and that'll be the second one I put together, because it just makes the most sense. But we'll get into that when the time comes, and I think the majority of what you need to know, you've already seen as far as that stuff goes.